This is the ultimate Ford Mustang. It is the new Shelby GT350R, and the current going rate for one of these is about 4 times as much as one of those base level Mustangs you rent from Hertz at the Las Vegas airport. And I've borrowed this one from a viewer here in Maryland to show you why this thing is so cool. So, how does the GT350R justify that price? Well, it's true the Mustang starts around $26,000, but that's with a base level V6. Add a V8 and things get up to $34,000, and then you add some options on top of that and you're closer to $40,000. Then you get to the GT350 lineup. There's the base level GT350, which starts around $60,000, but then there's this, the ultimate GT350, the R, low volume, ultra limited production, and extra special. Think of it like the Porsche 911 lineup. The base Mustang is like the base 911. The Mustang with the V8 is like the 911 Carrera S. Then you keep going and going until you get to the GT3, which would be the GT350, and that makes this the GT3 RS. So what does this add over a standard Mustang? Well, the biggest benefit is up front. There's a new V8 with 90 more horsepower than the Mustang GT. But this thing also has better brakes, better steering, and my personal favorite, magnetic suspension, which is an incredible marvel of technology. Of course, it also has a lot of interesting quirks and features that I have to show you.
Let's start with that engine. Open the hood and you'll find no plastic engine cover at all. Could it be a car made for people who actually want to work on their cars? There are a few other quirks under the hood too, like the fact that Ford had to spell out that this car uses carbon fiber composite. Most other cars just use it. And then there's this, a page out of the AMG playbook, built with pride, and the person who assembled it signed it. Climb inside and you can immediately tell this is a serious performance car, not a luxury car. See those blank switches? That's where your heated and cooled seats would be, but not on this car. No heated steering wheel either, though this button controls your steering feel. You can choose between normal, sport, or comfort in the gauge cluster display screen. And speaking of the gauge cluster display screen, there's nothing it can't tell you and nothing it can't adjust. Have you ever been in a car that tells you your air-fuel ratio? How about your axle oil temperature? How about your cylinder head temperature? There's a built-in line lock feature which allows you to do a burnout at the drag strip to improve your tire grip. This car doesn't just have launch control, but you can set the RPM where you want to launch. See this light on the windshield? In most Ford models, it's the forward collision warning sensor, and it warns you a crash is about to happen. In this car, it's the shift indicator light. It tells you when to shift, and you can use the gauge screen to adjust its brightness and even its mode, which changes the light's behavior for when you're on the track or the drag strip. This thing measures G-forces. This thing takes every acceleration measurement you could ever want, and, well, it just goes and goes and goes. I don't know if I've ever seen a car so clearly designed for people who just really know cars. Nobody will ever buy this thing on accident. Next up, let's talk seats. The GT350R has these grippy Alcantara sport seats that keep you in place when you're turning. In back, well, there are no seats at all. They're totally removed to save weight. Interestingly, that's one of the few differences separating this car from a standard GT350. And look around the exterior, you won't notice a single GT350R badge anywhere on the outside of this car. That's because there isn't one. They all just say GT350. The only R badge is inside right here on the glove box. In fact, you have to be really sharp to spot any of the cosmetic differences between this and the regular GT350. They're limited to a large front splitter, a large rear spoiler, these lightweight carbon fiber wheels, and special tires. Those are the only ways you can tell the R from a standard GT350 on the outside. A few more interesting features worth noting. The trunk doesn't have a trunk liner in order to save weight. This little lip on the body kit behind the front wheels is notorious for collecting rocks and other road grime. There are, of course, the Mustang's awesome distinctive turn signals that blink in order like one of those construction signs that tells you to merge. And then there's the sound. This is normal mode. And this is sport mode.
But in my opinion, maybe the most interesting thing about the GT350R is the electronics package. Now, you probably noticed that this car has a center screen, an audio system, an air conditioning, climate control, navigation system, a backup camera, all that stuff. Now, that stuff is all standard on the regular GT350, but they remove it from the GT350R because it saves about 150 pounds. But you can add it back. So basically you pay extra from the GT350 to the GT350R to have all that stuff removed, and then you pay an extra $3,000 on top of that to get it all put back in.
That leaves the GT350R with only a few benefits over the standard GT350, specifically those removed rear seats, the carbon fiber wheels, the extra aero features, and slightly revised steering and suspension tuning. The R doesn't have more power or more torque than the GT350, and like I said before, it doesn't even have R badging. So why would you opt for the GT350R?
To answer that question, it's time to get on the road. And for more of my thoughts on the GT350R experience, click the link below for my column on autotrader.com/oversteer. All right, let's do this. Let's drive this thing. Drive the GT350R. Now, this is one of the coolest cars on sale this year. Everybody's flipping out over this thing. Everybody wants one of these. Boy, you can instantly tell just the steering is like incredibly precise. Holy crap! As I move the steering wheel, the car just follows in a way that you wouldn't expect from a Mustang. I noticed the spoiler kind of gets in the way of everything behind you. I can't see a thing back there. Okay, the ride quality is atrocious. This is not a car you want to drive in an area of bad roads. Between the tires and the suspension, you just get beat up in this car. But I mean, welcome to a track car, right? You'd complain if the Mustang was bumpy. The GT, it's like, okay, the GT350. Like, if you get an R and you're complaining about bumpiness, you're just an idiot. You don't belong in this car. I wonder how many rocks are collecting in the little rock collection area down there. The sound is so good. It's up there with the best sounding, certainly among the best sounding V8s I've ever heard ever. It's just hard to believe because when you visually approach this car, you're walking up to a Mustang. And so you're like, it's going to be similar to a Mustang, but modified. Well, I'm driving this thing 5 minutes and you can already tell that's not really the situation. This is just completely different. It feels like a totally different car. There's no Mustang I've driven like this. The precision of the steering alone puts you in the class of the highest level of stuff. Yeah, the tires grab grooves in the road and kind of send you around. This is not a car you text and drive. You have to be careful. You have to know you realize what you're doing. This is a car you got to be paying attention. Because this car is crashy and it's loud, and yeah, there's plastic everywhere, but like, oh man, this is a blast. All right, we got some higher speeds here. Wow. Very fast. And the sound when you're moving fast is so good. I was honestly expecting this car to be kind of Viper-like, where I would be nervous about flooring it and I would think that it was going to fly around. But actually it feels like precise. It's intoxicating. Not only is the speed a blast, we're on great roads here, but the sound, it's almost like, how do you not floor it all the time? You would never know you're in a Mustang. If you blindfolded someone, put them in a passenger seat and were driving around, and if the exhaust wasn't on, you didn't say to them, what is this? And you feel the handling and the steering, and you would not assume that you were in a rear-wheel drive American car. I mean, I drove the Hellcat. That's fun, but it's fun in a straight line. It doesn't have anywhere near this level of precision and like racetrack ability. This is only 2 seconds slower on Nürburgring than a 458. I believe it. I just drove a 488 and it was great, but like, a lot of the cars I drive, I feel, I get like nervous and stuff, and I'm talking. I haven't had this much fun in a while. I filmed that video about a month ago, and just watching it back and editing it was fun. I didn't want to film a conclusion when I shot that video because I wasn't really sure what I thought of the car. I wanted to go home and really think things over before I made a conclusion. And now that I have thought things over, my conclusion is this: that car is unbelievable. You know, I read all this stuff on that car. I knew it was going to be great, but I guess I didn't really know it would be that great. Now I want one of those things. It's just too bad there's such a crazy markup. Is it worth a lot more than a regular GT350? I don't know. I haven't driven a regular GT350 yet. All I know is it's worth what they're charging. It's probably even worth what people are paying with the markup. That is one of the most surprising, awesome cars I've driven this year. Maybe I've ever driven. I never thought I'd be saying that about a Mustang.